Ooh-wee. My ninjas. Good to see y'all. I hope y'all are having a good day. This video is very dear to me. This is something that I've been either directly working on myself or learning in some capacity for over the last 10 years. As you can see from the title, this is the 10 Keys of Mental Fortitude, which is basically 10 abilities that you need to be able to uh, pull out at will at any given time if you want to be successful, basically in anything. I feel like I've been gaining a lot of these keys consistently through being in sales, but also shout out to my trading mentor, Chris. A few of these I actually got from him. And to make a long story short, this can help you in trading, in relationships, um, in multiple different ways, and you'll see what I mean when we get into it. But um, without further ado, the first key is going to be discipline. And the definition I have here is the ability to control yourself and to follow rules or orders. So that's pretty self explanatory why you would need that in life in general. But that's definitely the first key that seems, some of these will seem like common sense, but I promise you, common sense is not so common. And a lot of people would actually try to package this up for 199 and sell it to you. So I promise you, this is some free game that I'm giving you here. But discipline is the first key that you need to have. The second key is going to be patience. That's the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. So, kind of the ability to endure a situation that may not be in your favor or to your liking without getting angry or upset. They say patience is a virtue. That's a big one. The next one, the third key, is going to be the emotional control or EQ, which is the ability to perceive, use, or understand um, your emotions and how and knowing how to handle them or manage them. So that one is pretty self-explanatory. But humans, whether you're a male or a female, we are emotional creatures. So that's part of the game. And when you're in the thick of it, when you're going through life, you need to be able to manage those emotions. The fourth key here is going to be resilience, which is the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulty. So basically, the ability to bounce back, um, and kind of that goes also into like mental toughness, not letting um, being not letting a loss defeat you, essentially. The fifth key here is going to be long term view, which is always prioritizing and focusing on the overall goal versus chasing instant gratification. So, a lot of times when we are starting any endeavor, um, it can be discouraging for the first bit because, like a seed that's planted, it takes time for you to start actually visibly seeing the progress and seeing results. So it's good to have long-term view, especially at the beginning stages of things, so you can focus, like it said, on the overall goal versus instant gratification or what might seem easier right now. Uh, the sixth key here is going to be probability mindset. So this one I have here written here, understanding variance happens, but probabilities dominate over time. So that's basically understanding that L's will happen, losses will happen, but if you know what you're doing, if you're following a certain type of system, then overall the numbers will play out. the way they're supposed to play out. So directly when I'm dealing with sales, for example, I have to deal with that because it's like obviously if I talk to 10 people, I'm not going to sell all 10 people. Even if they're somewhat curious or interested and I'm like on the top of my game, that's just unlikely to happen to where I'm just getting 100% of everybody that I talk to for multiple reasons. So when I do face those inevitable hiccups or bumps in the road, if you will, um, I basically can understand that probabilities happen. You know, things happen. And also, I think a flip side to that, um, I think there's this guy online. His name is Julian Jackson. He has a video talking about the broken probability mindset. That's a fantastic video to watch. I would definitely recommend going and checking that one out as well. That's kind of another side of the same coin, and I won't spoil too much of that video as well. But that's also another kind of element that you should keep in mind when you're thinking about the probability mindset. So this is a mindset more so for yourself as you're going through your journey. Um, the seventh one here is the growth mindset. A lot of you may already know what that is, but to put that into the shortest description possible, I would say it's the mindset of getting 1% better every day. It's the mindset of just that, getting 1% better every day, consistently small incremental growth, um, which is a healthy way to think about things, because if you're going up a mountain and you're constantly looking at the top of the mountain, again, you can get discouraged. But if you're just thinking, if you're breaking it down into pieces and just thinking about basically the next step and the next step and the next step over time, you will make progress and you'll get to your destination. The eighth key here is going to be reframe slash gratitude. So these could really be, and there's of course more than 10 keys of mental fortitude in general, but these are 10 that I think are very essential. And that's part of it. So these both could be their own separate thing, but I thought they could be smushed together. Reframe is the ability to basically change your perspective on whatever it is that you're going through. One of Marcus Aurelius, I believe his name is, one of his three principles to Stoicism is understanding that outside circumstances are not the problem, it's your perspective of them, which could be changed at any time. So, whatever things we're going through, it's not the thing itself that is the problem, it's however we are viewing it in our mind, and that could be changed at any given moment. So, that being said, with the power of reframe, it's just the ability to be able to, when you're in a tough situation, think about it from a different angle. And if you can't do anything else, the reason why I added gratitude in there is because um, gratitude is always the best attitude you could possibly have. And if all else fails, you can just start thinking about certain ways that you are blessed or grateful for your certain situation, which it may be hard, but if you have to boil it down to thinking about being grateful for your five senses, if you're lucky enough to have all five of your senses at that time, if it's being grateful for being alive and having all of your limbs. I know that sounds like crazy stuff because Myron Golden talked about this a little bit, but we develop blessing blindness over time, and we start thinking that certain things are just a given. So like you think that like your water running in your faucet right now and just certain things that we just have, that's a normal part of our lives, um, is just normal to us, when really a lot of these things are luxuries to people who are less fortunate. And I just feel like that's one of the best ways to kind of reframe almost any situation, is to find a few ways to be grateful for whatever it is that's going on, even if you're literally I'm trying to think of an example of something, but just like, let's say you have a really crappy job and you're literally like shoveling crap, like you're shoveling feces, literally, or like you're, I don't know, just some position like that, right? Like, there's somebody out there who has it even worse, who's like really not getting paid, who would give a who would give everything they have just for like some fresh cold water, just for like a nice place to lay their head at night where they're feeling safe and it's not like danger and they're like sleeping one eye open and stuff. I know that sounds extreme, but that is really real. And not to harp on this point for too long, but I just feel like that is very powerful because at least me myself, I can find myself getting into negative spirals sometimes when things, are not going my way, and it's just easy to get lost in the sauce. So being able to reframe and bring it back to a attitude of gratitude, it works wonders, and it can really help you in your journey, and it will definitely help you in your journey. You will need it multiple times if you're trying to do anything of significance, because it's because you will be met with resistance and trials and tribulations along the way. So it's just important to be able to have that ability to reframe. The ninth point here, the ninth key of mental fortitude, is actually a little different. So this one I would say is neuroscience slash having a basic understanding of neuroscience. So what I mean by this is neuroscience is science relating to your physical brain and how your physical brain works. And as I've not only been studying more in trading, but also just in a few other things as well, some of this stuff has become aware to me, and it's almost been like an aha moment as I've learned some of it. So one of the main things you need to learn or understand with neuroscience, right, is first of all neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to learn new information. Um, and basically, without getting too technical or crazy about it, you have neural pathways which can be strengthened or weakened depending on rep how much you're using them in repetition. And that being said, what you need to understand that from that is on a biological level, that means you can unlearn you can unlearn old things and you can learn new things that are necessary for whatever it is that you're trying to do. So that's good news. And you'll have to do, I don't want to get too lost in the sauce on this topic, so you'll have to do some more research on that. But the point is that kind of goes alongside some of the habits that we have and all sorts of things like that. Those are some of those habits that we have are like neural pathways that are built in our brains that we have to. So, for example, with myself, one of the flaws I have is I am a recovering sugar addict. And after I watched a video, because I was procrastinating on that for a long time, but after I watched a video on like some of the negative effects of sugar, it definitely made me slow down on sugar. And now I'm just willing to spend a little bit more money on like either lower sugar, if not zero sugar alternatives to some of the things that I like, and just making certain health adjustments so I'm able to prolong my life. Because that would be a stupid thing to be defeated by is sugar. But when I realized like that's kind of part of my habit with me wanting to go in my pantry and grab something sweet, and like when I realized that's like a neural pathway responsible for that, it just helps you be more kind to yourself and understanding of yourself with certain things. When you understand, okay, maybe it's not just like me being a problem or something, it might be, a literal neural pathway in my brain that I have to work to overcome. but also certain things when you start learning about biases as well. So certain things like the negativity bias, which is the strongest bias that we have in our brain, which has been ingrained in our brains physically through evolution and things like that, like from our ancestors and years ago having to survive. But basically, that's the tendency to put more weight on things that are negative than things that are positive. And I think it was broken down like we have 500% more neural real estate devoted towards negativity than positivity. So anything negative period that happens in your life is gonna affect you about 5 times as much as something that is positive will affect you. And when you realize that, especially with me myself and some of my tendencies, and because sometimes being a perfectionist and all this other stuff, um, I don't know, that negativity bias can really get you. But when you understand it, you start to be a little bit more, again, lenient with yourself and understanding with yourself and also of other people. Um, and there's a lot of other biases as well, like self-serving biases and um, cognitive bias. There's a confirmation bias. There's a few biases that when you start to dive into them, it just again is kind of like an aha moment, and then you start realizing, okay, maybe not only myself with habits I have, but when I'm dealing with other people, it might not just be them being, an a-hole or whatever. It might be that cognitive bias going on, or that negativity bias, and maybe I can be more understanding of whatever situation I'm personally going through or someone else is going through. And then the last one is actually something that I got while I was watching a video on Eastern philosophy, and this was the concept of Wu Wei, WUWEI, so Wu Wei, and basically I think the actual direct translation is not acting or not doing, but it's not laziness. It's more so knowing when to flow, having discernment when to act and when not to act. There are videos kind of deep explaining this more thoroughly, but basically knowing when to go with the flow and knowing when not to go with the flow, which is something that for me personally is a really big one because I have been a control freak in my life. But yeah, man, I don't want to ramble too long. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll leave timestamps for all of these, but um, these are all